Hello, hello, hello. I am Glenn Wilson, President and CEO of Communities First Inc. Thank you so much for being with us this Saturday afternoon to talk, more about the film Fast Colors and some Black Girl Magic. Um, I am just very excited to be here today because there's just so many different topics that we're going to cover, and we have just a dynamic panel of individuals that's here with us. But first, I want to just start off with a few things. Before I jump into some more information, please just take a second, share this post with your family and friends, right? So take this, share. Send out the link to people that you may know. We're on LinkedIn, uh, Facebook, YouTube. So whatever social media platform you're on, you'll be able to watch this live. So welcome so much to the sixth annual African American Film Series, third discussion for the film Fast Colors. Our series is designed to educate, empower, and inform individuals on topics that affect our community each and every day. And we couldn't gather, this year in person, even though we were contacted by many people saying, "Hey, are you going to do the African American Film Series this year?" And so our team really sat down, put our heads together, and tried to find a way of how we could still bring you a high quality event a little bit different. I know you're missing the food and you're missing the music. And I say you, I'm sorry, I'm missing the food. I'm missing the music. I'm missing the art galleries, the conversation, sitting down and talking with a lot of you, just walking around and conversating and meeting new people. But we couldn't do this unless you continue to ask for it. And so that's why we wanted to bring it to you. We are also pleased to be celebrating 10 years of serving the community. So Communities First is 10 years. And, our work has expanded so far beyond just Flint. We're in Detroit, Saginaw, Indiana, and other places like Lansing and other places across Michigan. So I know that this streaming platform is that we have people that's following us from multiple states and cities that's joining us today to learn about these different things that are impacting our community on it every day. So just give you a quick updates on some things that just we have done just here recently with Communities First to just respond to COVID just outside of the film series. But we were able to install internet access at all of our Flint properties, be able to provide tablets to those who need it. We distributed food, personal protection kits in response to the pandemic. We were able to operate some things and move it to a virtual space, just like right now with our film series. And you always see the lovely Renee that's always doing the financial education series. So we hope that if you had an opportunity to enjoy the movie Fast Colors, that's what this panel discussion is about. And I probably would be remiss if I don't just mention them now, but let me make sure I thank our sponsors from the beginning so I don't forget them as we get into this deep conversation. But I want to thank Mott Community College, the Community Foundation of Greater Flint, Truth, Race, Healing, and Transformation Initiative, the Michigan Council for Arts and Cultural Affairs, and NBC 25, and many other sponsors. So thanks so much for your sponsorship and support and walking alongside of us so we can still put on a high quality virtual African American film series this year. So now we're gonna jump right into my favorite part. I always enjoy being a part of this film series, but one of my biggest things is that I'm usually always on the panel. I'm not always moderating, and so it's exciting to be on the other side moderating a little bit today to talk to some people that I would all say they're all important to me in some level or fashion and impacted my life in some type of way. And I'm glad they're all. So I'm going to let them introduce themselves, but I'm ready to talk about this conversation with Black Girl Magic. And I'm going to sit back and shut up before they beat me up. You know what I'm saying? Because, I don't want anything to happen to me. But I'm going to try to take this conversation in a great, you're just going to take it and have a great flow. So Essence, I'm going to let you go ahead and kick it off with you introducing yourself, and then we'll move on, and then we'll jump into questions.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Essence Wilson, and I am the co-founder and chief strategy officer for Communities First. I'm really excited about this discussion because there was so much in the film that I think we can talk about, that we can bring out. And I'm wondering what Kathy and Chelsea and Renee will have to say. And then I would just also say that, as Glenn said, he's not typically the moderator. And so it's a little bit uncomfortable sitting in this seat and being on the panel and not being in control of the flow of conversation. So do us proud, Glenn.
Hello, my name is Catherine Bowles. I'm the retired CEO of the Valley Area Agency on Aging. Been retired since 2018, but busy because I have my own consulting company, but not doing a whole lot of consulting, but sitting on a lot of boards and doing community service work in the community. So that's how I stay connected.
Kathy, we all know that being on boards does not mean you're retired, right? You just work.
I'm working for free now. I failed miserably at retirement. So I'm working for free, but it's all good and worthwhile boards, and I'm enjoying myself.
Awesome. Chelsea, did you freeze? Okay.
Hi.
All right, Chelsea's. All right, so we're gonna move to Renee real quick, and then we'll come back to Chelsea. Oh, okay. Renee will be back here in a second. All right, so we'll wait for. It sounds like they were having a little glitch there, so we'll wait for them to come back in to introduce themselves. But Chelsea, not for sure if that's okay. So we'll wait for Chelsea to get back with us here in a second. But I am, like I said, I'm very excited to be here. See, I'm the moderator. See stuff start messing up already. I was just playing. It's not. All right, Renee is back. All right, so we're gonna let Renee introduce herself, and then we'll wait for Chelsea to come back to introduce herself. All right, go ahead, Renee. Take it away.
Good afternoon. My name is Renee Kent. I am the Director of Special Projects for Communities First. And my superpower today is not internet. So I apologize for that. A little bit about my background. I spent 18 years in the financial service industry, really focused on providing community development, loans, investments, and grants. And I spend probably 99% of my free time volunteering on boards and committees and any way that I can give back to the community, especially working with youth. And then just a little bit about me personally. Most people don't know, they know about what I do in the community, but they don't know that a lot of the work I do, I would have benefited from, growing up. And so being a teen mom, overcoming homelessness, having to drop out of school. And so a lot of the work that I do is really paying tribute to the struggles that I overcame and giving back to the community that I know all too well.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Renee, for that heartfelt introduction. Greatly appreciate that. And I'm just I'm acting like a kid now. I'm like, hey, I'm ready to jump into these questions. We will hopefully Chelsea will get back in here shortly. But I'm gonna start off with just a generic question. I mean, this film, Fast Color. I was told to quit adding the S to the end of it. It's Fast Color, not Fast Colors. And I was just amazed at all the different things that were happening, and I want to get some of your initial thoughts about the film. And so, Kathy, do you want to just go ahead and start us off? Just give us just some of your initial thoughts about the Fast Color film.
I was intrigued and and really wanted to learn more about the matriarchy that came about as a result of the, in the movie, the mother, daughter, and grandmother, and then the previous generation, how that played into it. That was interesting to me because I'm living that out real time myself now I can't see myself on this thing. Living it out real time myself with I'm the grandmother with the daughter that has my granddaughter. So I'm living that whole thing out myself now. The climate change thing kind of intrigued me in the movie, and also the kind of the generational trauma that happened in the movie. So it had different levels, all different levels, I thought, in the movie to keep you really watching it and focused and interested in how it's going to turn out. So I enjoyed the movie.
All right, Essence, you want to give us your initial thoughts real quick?
Yeah, so Fast Color was a film that was, it was on our initial list of films that we were thinking about showing, but it got vetoed by the committee at the beginning because it was this sci-fi superhero film that had been actually shown in the theater. It came out in February, just before the pandemic hit. So most people didn't hear about it, didn't see it, didn't get the opportunity to appreciate it. So one of the other films we were planning to show, we couldn't show, and we put it back out to the committee and said, here are two choices. And they, after watching the trailer and looking a little bit deeper into the film, they said, hey, this would be kind of different and interesting. We've never shown anything like this at the film series. And I am glad that we were able to show it. If you haven't seen it, there's still time, there's still opportunity to see it. It's not a superhero film in the traditional sense. I think Kathy said it earlier when we were talking, there's nobody walking around with a big S on their chest and a cape. It's more about the power that we have within and how we discover that power, and then how we use it for good or potentially not for good. It's about family. It's about the different dynamics that happen through generations, and the generational trauma, and how do we overcome that? How do we deal with those things so that it doesn't hinder us from being the great people, the great women that we are. So it's very deep. If you want to go deep, shallow surface level, it's a good story. It's an interesting film, but if you really take the time to reflect, you'll discover things about yourself and about who you are and why you are who you are if you take the time to do that. The only other thing that I will add to that is when you watch the film, I won't say if, because I'm trusting that everybody who sees this will watch it and has watched it. After you've finished it, go back and watch the intro. And when Bo, the grandmother, is talking at the beginning, there's some key things that she says that helps, you understand the story better if you go back and listen to it after you've seen it. So.
All right, Renee, please, what's your initial thoughts of the film as well?
I didn't know what to expect, but I was pleasantly surprised. I really enjoyed the film, and I think Essence did a really good job summing it up. I don't think I have anything to add. It was a really good film. I would definitely recommend it.
Awesome. And so, Essence, when you were talking about, and I think you and Kathy might have mentioned that just a little bit earlier, and then Renee said her superpower wasn't internet today. But like, what would you say? Just like, what would you say as an individual? What is your superpower? Like, if you were thinking like of yourself, like, what would you say your superpower is? Essence, go ahead.
Whew, that's a hard question. I think we have a tendency to think about what we want our superpower to be, and we don't appreciate what actually is. Oh gosh, if I were to say what my superpower is, I don't know if I have just one, because I think I have a couple, but I would say one would be diplomacy and being able to take people with really different perspectives, different ideas, find the common ground and work together towards a common goal. So I would say that's one of my superpowers.
All right, Renee, what would you say your superpower is?
I would have to say the ability to survive and just keep going, to do it anyway. You know, I mean, there are, and I'm sure I'm not alone in this. There are many times when you just feel like, I don't want to do it. I'm tired. But just the ability to push through and keep going. I would say that's my superpower.
Amen. The Kathy, what would you say your superpower is?
Oh gosh, I would say a little bit of what Renee spoke of, just to keep pushing through, and saying the same that Essence spoke of. But I think, and part of mine would be the ability to get people to buy into your to buy into my vision, and that I think that's one of my superpowers, is to get the ability to get people to buy into my vision.
That's awesome. And I've had an opportunity to be, in the room and work with you all in certain aspects. And I think I think you're all just so humble about your superpowers, right? Say Essence is I don't know how she does it, but she's like a chameleon. Like any situation that you find, she can find a way to adapt and to adjust to it, right? Which is very hard to do, and these are just superpowers I recognize, right? And so Renee, she can make something that's bad sound good. I don't know how she does it, but like she can talk to people and it can be something that's really bad, and she can make them sound like it's like great for them, and it's just I don't know, it's like you don't mind getting to know from her, or if something's a real bad idea, she can just make you feel like, okay, yeah, oh, okay, it's just all right, let's keep it moving. Oh, Essence, what's that?
I was just gonna say, so here's what that sounds like. I've been in the room when Renee said this. It sounds like this. So it sounds like you're really passionate about that. Unfortunately, we're gonna have to go in a different direction, but I really think that you should keep pursuing that, just maybe not with us. I'm just kidding. But no, that is an awesome superpower to have because it's very comforting and helpful for people, and it keeps them encouraged, even if it's not going to work out in this instance or under these circumstances.
And that's diplomacy as well. She's quite the diplomat. That's good.
I was just laughing and forgot to unmute myself there. But I was going to say, I'm not going to say Renee is as diplomatic. She definitely has a cutting point. Like, yeah, we're done with that. We're just not going to keep talking. Kathy, one thing that I always respect about Kathy is like, what is a no? Like, that's what I love about her. Like, that's not even a part of her vocabulary. Like no, what did you just say? No, you mean like no, not right now. No, and like just like that was your first reaction. But like when she said to buy into the vision, like when she says that, like it's different because like she doesn't have to sell it because you really can't say no. Like, so I don't know how Kathy has created this culture, but like it's really hard to tell her no because like she expects you to say yes when she talks to you.
That's right. That's
You
right.
see what I'm saying? Absolutely. So you really don't have an option to say no, and if you say no, she's going to be so confused, like I don't get why you're saying no, So no, I appreciate all y'all superpowers because, like I said, y'all have all impacted my life in some level of fashion. So the thing about the film and the superpower, right? And me, being a male and thinking about the movie a little bit, there was a time at the beginning of the film when a man was looking for the daughter. He bought her coffee, set her up right in the coffee shop, tried to ask her name, called the cops on her. And then when she was riding in the car, and she didn't know all this, but she felt like something was uncomfortable, right? And while they were in the car driving, he was letting her know, like, I'm here trying to help you, right? And what I wanted to ask is, there are times in life when people think they're helping you by controlling your power, right? So what would you say to a young lady or to an individual that's trying to find their path when people are like trying to control their superpowers instead of trying to let them go on the path by themselves?
I can go first.
Okay.
Because immediately when, and this is not one of the we didn't know about this question. I'll just put that out there. Glenn sprung this one on us. But immediately when you asked that question, I thought about a time where I was sitting in a job interview and everything was going great. I thought I was going to get hired for this job. I mean, I was nailing it. I was on top of it. Everything was going great. And we get around the room and this one individual says a comment, and I won't repeat it verbatim, but I will say that the person said something about this is a high profile position and actually said, how will you handle all of that power given all the other things that you've done in the community? And I mean, it was like a blow, right? So internally, I was like, whoa, wait a minute. How dare you ask me that question? That's disrespectful. That's everything. Outwardly, we do what we always do. We put on the happy face, we smile, we regroup, and we respond as confidently as we are able to. And I will say, I didn't get the position. I think that the question that was asked in a way that caused everybody else to bring into question my ability to do the job and also whether or not I was worthy of doing the job. And what I will say is, that was an experience where I learned that there are people out there that will try to control and manipulate your success, control and manipulate how far you're able to go. That happens in the corporate world all the time. It happens, in community. We've all worked in the nonprofit sector. We've seen it where a funder will fund, and then the funding dries up and they expect you to curl up and die in the corner. And I will say those kinds of experiences have led me to a place where I don't willingly give that control to anybody, right? And so whether it's a funder or it's that person in the room, and it was a white male, right, in the room making this comment, and it dictated the rest of the conversation, I don't willingly give up that power. And I think that we do have choice in that. And, we have to analyze and think about it and think about what do we want to do as our next step? How are we going to respond? How are we going to react? And I think in the film, when this happened to Ruth, she fought, she fought back. And that's what we have to do on a day-to-day basis. But we have to also first recognize that people will try and do that to us.
Yeah. Renee?
Yeah, I would just add, I think that you can look at it from both sides, because there will always be people who try to diminish your worth, as well as those who try to uplift you. But those voices mean nothing if the voice within you isn't great. I mean, if someone is trying to uplift you and you don't believe it, I mean, it's not going to take you where you need to go. And so I think, regardless of what anybody is saying, to I can't speak today, Essence's point, you've got to, take the power within yourself.
Absolutely. And Kathy, I'm gonna have you answer this as well, but I just wanted to say is that, when we're talking about power just in general, it's just, sometimes people aren't concerned about they're not concerned about how much money you make, right? They're not concerned about the things that you do every day in work. And some people are more concerned about your power and influence, right? And how to control your power and influence more, because you can be rich and have no power and influence, right? Or your influence is very limited. Because even when you think about somebody like Dr. Martin Luther King, right? He wasn't a very wealthy man, right? But his influence was impactful, right? His power was impactful. And so, Kathy, I'm gonna let you add to this as well, because I know personally, I've seen you in rooms, talking to people and advocating, for women and different things of that aspect. So what did you think about that as well, about someone looking for their path and someone trying to control their power, and what advice would you give as well?
I think that when you know you have that power within you, as Renee kind of said, something already within, people are going to try to control that. It can be men or women, and women are just as bad and sometimes worse with another woman in trying to control that power, and the power within you. But the I guess the big point for me is when you know you have that well within yourself, and I know this is kind of metaphor with the water thing in the movie, but really you have a well within yourself that you have to draw upon. And when you know you have that, then you can draw upon that well yourself. And no one else can take that from you. But people will always try, because I don't know, what is it? Human nature. It's that crab mentality. People don't want you to have, not always, I shouldn't say all people, but there are people that don't want you to have the success that you have within yourself to promote and to gain and to do the great things that you have within yourself to do. But I think you just have to look within yourself and draw upon your own well that's deep inside of you to overcome all of that is put before you, the stumbling before you, so that you can overcome them.
Yeah, and I love what you said. That it's like, it's right. I mean, you all have mentioned a little bit about it's what's on the inside of you, right? But what I recognize, and I think this is a good segue into our next question, is as you've been saying this, understanding the well within you and the growth, like, how would you encourage someone? How do you harness your superpower? Like, how can we encourage others to how can we encourage others to harness their superpowers? Like, where does that come from? So, the well building and the internal strength, like, how do you build that? Renee, do you want to start us off there?
That's a good question. I mean, I think depending on what stage you are in your life will depend on, where you may draw that from, or what's going on may determine where that comes from. I think at one point you saw in the film where Ruth realized her superpower, and she drew that from her daughter. So in that particular instance, the connection and the love that she had for her child helped her to gain that strength that she needed. I've certainly have experienced that in my lifetime, where, my children have pushed me to do, work and push. But there have been other times where, I've had to push myself, look at the blessings and be grateful for just waking up in the morning and using that as my motivation and encouragement. So I think it depends on where you are in your situation, or your circumstance for your life. It can come from different places, but the most powerful, I would have to say, is the power that you draw from within.
And I'm going to say, I think as women, and I'm going to say particularly African American women, we all have a superpower. We already have the superpower. Some of us just don't know that we have it, and they've not done anything about it. But we all have that superpower. Otherwise, we wouldn't be where we are, or attain some of the success we've attained, or even if it's not success, we've achieved things with our families or with our children. All of us, particularly Black women, have a superpower. And as just like the Ruth in the show and her mother, they were really, I think they were close, but they'd grown apart. But as I remember my mother when I was younger, And you can almost as a mother, you can sense the superpowers, I'll say, in your children. You know what they're capable of. And I remember my mother, I was at a point in my life had said, I can't do this. Why should I do this? Why does that mean anything? What's going to come of that? And I mean, she almost yoked me up, like, let me tell you something, and got that nose to nose with me and said, don't you ever let me hear. I mean, she had to really just yoke me up to make me go down into my own well to say, hey, what was I thinking? Especially in front of this woman who could. So I've had to do the same with my daughter. To say when you find that little weakness in your life or something not going right, as mothers and women, we have to reach back not only to our children but to others coming along behind us to say, hey, I see that you're special and you have a special gift, and I want to work with you to bring that out. So we have to each one teach one and reach back to bring those women along that have those powers that maybe don't even know they had them, and help them to find that power within themselves.
Oh yeah, no, thank you so much. Y'all are absolutely right, and somebody actually just shared something in the comments, which is so true, and I think this is what you guys are speaking to. Was sometimes we need that awakening, right? Like sometimes you need somebody to tell you who you are, right? And it's not that you don't believe it. Like Renee was saying a little bit earlier, it's like sometimes you need somebody to tell you you are great, you are awesome, right? And Essence, you can go ahead and add something to this because it's actually going right into my next question. But go ahead and add whatever you like to this one as well.
I think just as a practical thought about how do we discover our own superpower, how do we nurture that. A lot of that, and we saw it in the film, came through healing and addressing and dealing with the past, knowing who you are, knowing what you're capable of, all of those kinds of things. And just being very practical. Sometimes that means going to therapy. And I know that there's a stigma in the African American community about therapy. Going to therapy doesn't mean that you're crazy. It means that you're smart enough to realize that you're struggling and that there are other people out there that can help you. For some people, it's the positive affirmations. It's the sayings that they put on the wall, the things that, they choose to read. It can be prayer. It can be, meditation. It can be yoga, your faith. It can be so many things. And I think, and I don't know if anybody else does this, but like I have a program for me, right? I know what things energize me and what things take me down. And so when I'm starting to feel down, there are like 4 or 5 things that I know, hey, I must not have been praying as much as I normally do. Maybe I need to go and talk to somebody because I'm not thinking clearly on a particular issue, or, I need to maybe encourage myself or put myself around people that can build me up, that can uplift me. And so we have to create our own program for how we are going to stay, for lack of better words, how we're going to stay sane, how we're going to deal with difficulties. And, I think there has also been in the African American community this tendency to sweep certain things under the rug. And I'm telling you, if you have experienced trauma in your life, whether it's, abuse, bad relationships, major job loss, being in poverty, homelessness, whatever it may have been, everybody could benefit from talking to a professional that can help you walk through that so that your past doesn't hinder your present and change what your future can be.
And can I add to the next question, Glenn? With Ruth, her power wasn't harnessed or controlled, but that's what they wanted. They wanted to harness and control her power. But Lila, her daughter, had power, but hers was underdeveloped. Hers hadn't really developed yet. Mm-hmm. And so that kind of speaks to identifying someone where they have that gift or power, and maybe it's underdeveloped and or undeveloped. And so that's where, women can come in to, other women can help other women develop that power which is what I was speaking to earlier. I guess that's what I'll say.
Sure.
All I'll say about that right now.
Yeah. All right. No, thank you so much, Kathy. I think that's getting into this question of the dynamic between the grandmother, the daughter, and the granddaughter are very complex, right? I mean, it's super complex as far as different legs of the journey they're on. What can we learn from the relationship between the mother, the granddaughter, and the daughter? Renee, you want to go ahead and start us off there?
I'm sorry, my computer froze up for a second. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So there was a line that the mother said in the movie, and she said, we all just are doing the same thing over and over again, hoping that one of us gets it right. And you know, I thought that was an interesting line, because, and then hearing some of the past stories from, her mother and her grandmother, and how they were all kind of doing the same thing, and even though there was a strong legacy there and strong relationships, they were also kind of holding each other back, and that was like a generational curse that was being passed down. The mother, while she was a little bit more lenient with her daughter, she still was trying to have her daughter's powers look like her powers. And because her daughter's powers didn't look like her powers, she felt like a failure, right? And then, the granddaughter wanted to go out and use her powers for good. And her mother said, no, you can't do that. There's nothing out there. And so there was this constant kind of generational thing that was being passed down that was, limiting the next generation. And so there was some pain in that. But I won't give any more away about the movie.
All right, Chelsea, thanks for joining us. I know you had a little technical difficulty there. If you can, before we jump into the next question, can you just go ahead and just do a quick introduction of yourself, and then we will, and then if there's anything you want to share based off the questions that was already discussed while you can go ahead and just give some of your initial thoughts about the film real quick. Is it still on?
Okay. Hi, I'm Chelsea Ray. I have a background in engineering. I'm currently a manager at a logistics company. And I loved hearing what you guys thought about the film. A lot of what you guys said, I really related to it. And I do.
And she's.
We may never know what Chelsea thinks about the film.
Right.
That was her superpower.
Her superpower is disappearing. Right. Oh no, this is hilarious. All right. So when we were talking about families a little bit, so when you saw much of the main character, Ruth's struggle, she had to do with dealing with her past. Why is it important for us to deal with our past as individuals in order to move forward? Essence, you want to start us off?
Well, so you definitely can see it in the film how her not dealing with her past kept her from being able to use the power that she had. I would just say that sometimes we spend a lot of effort and energy replaying the past, and it can just be like a weight, like an anchor, and keep you stagnant. But there's something about being free and being liberated by owning your own truth, recognizing the things that you've done, the things that have happened to you, and at some point just coming into the reality that it is what it is, right? Not thinking about it, not dealing with it, or obsessing about it doesn't change it. So how can you take the experience that you have and that you have had, and use it for your own benefit? And I love what Renee said as part of her introduction about how she went through a lot of different things, and then that turned into the career that she pursued and the passion that she has for the work that she does because she can identify. But there's always the chance that you just kind of sit back and go, well, my life sucks and it's always going to suck and it'll never be any better. But you have a choice in that. And I think if you deal with the past, then it's just one less thing that can hold you back and hold you down.
All right, Kathy.
When I was watching the movie and there were always secrets. Ruth said to her mother, "You didn't tell her," and it was always some kind of secret. And Ruth didn't know about this book that existed where they kind of their ancestry, their history. It's secrets, and I don't know if it's just in our community, in the African American community, but we tend to keep secrets in our families. And it always hurts when the secrets come out, because the secrets come out and it always is either devastating to someone or it's enlightening to someone else. And like, well, I didn't know. Well, thank you for, I don't know. It's secrets. And some of those secrets, like it was in this family, and like what Essence was saying, families need to go. It would be helpful if families went to take some therapy together, group therapy or whatever, to get that out and to learn from it and get past it. Because that, in many cases, is what holds us back, is that those secrets that have to be kept secret. And that was, I was concerned that was going to be the case with these three women, that this secret was going to just hold them back and not ever be brought to light. And I think because they started to talk about it, the women started to talk about it, especially Ruth and her mother. That's how Ruth was kind of released from her burden, I guess I'm going to say. And we can see in our own lives when secrets are released and told and you're able to understand it, or maybe not understand it, but even know about it, that's when blessings can be released. And so I think sometimes we're held back because our blessings are held because we're not able to share.
Oh, wow. Thank you, Kathy, for that. That's definitely true. And so it makes me think about, Renee was saying that a lot of people at the beginning didn't know, about why she done some of the work that she done. And then also with this particular question. And so, like, Renee, just speaking of your introduction and thinking about the film, right? Like, what about, what I'm saying, the film that you saw, like how you related to it, right? But then this other side of like dealing with past, because like most people, like you say, don't know certain things about you or things that you share with me, or but you're a powerful person, right? Like the things that you've been through. So like, share, share whatever you want to share as far as with that one, as far as dealing with the past, and a little bit about what you talked about at the beginning, just to bring that back up.
Sure. So I'll bring out a theme that we kind of heard throughout the movie, was that if something was broken, it stays broken. And we know that if we don't deal with things, they'll stay broken. But they don't have to, because the failures of your past should not and do not have to define your future. And so I guess connecting it to my own experiences, I certainly have had a lot of successes and overcome a lot. And I think something that I'm actually still working on is sharing that experience, right? for a long time, I never shared that experience, especially not when I was in the corporate world, because I was already dealing with situations where I was in rooms, um, and I was the only person in the room that looked like me. And so I was having to prove that I should be in that room, and I didn't need to add another layer of judgment, if you will. Um, you know, it's hard enough being the only woman, the youngest person, and the only person of color, frankly, in a lot of these spaces, and having your voice heard and actually respected. But you know, as I grow up, I care a little bit less about what people think and share a little bit more about, you know, my history and my connection to things. And so I think that's all part of growth, you know, gaining that confidence to say who you are. I mean, you can, I certainly am who I am, and I'm not ashamed of that. Um, but it takes time, and I think it takes a buildup of confidence to share those experiences with other people.
Thank you, thank you, and I think that gets back to Kathy's point a little bit when she was talking about like how there was healing, and those things were taking place in sharing, right? And the more information that we share, not only does it heal us, right, but it also heals people around us because they're trying to find out what is it about us and why can't they connect the dots because of the secrets that we keep or the things that we choose not to share. Essence, is there something that you would like to add to that?
I would. So there was a scene in the film where Ruth was running, and she was literally running for her life. And I can really relate to that because I think there have been times where maybe not physically, because if anybody knows me, I am not a runner. That's not going to happen. So I hope that I never end up in a situation where I'm being chased because it's going to be really sad. But internally, I felt that same sort of fear and terror and uncertainty about life. And I think as Black women, we're always seen by others as being strong and almost invincible because of so many things that we've had to endure over time and throughout generations. Um, but like sometimes you're just not invincible. Sometimes you're not strong. And so it was really nice to see a strong character have flaws and be weak, but still in the end overcome. And it wasn't like this drastic, it was just a natural progression of things in the film, which I thought was really cool. And so for me, seeing Ruth heal throughout the film was really refreshing, and it wasn't a sudden thing, right? It wasn't in an instant, she just kind of everything changed. You could see how over time, as things progressed, um, things got better for her. And, she was able to recognize who she was. And I think that's just really important for us to think about and to consider that you can be broken today, but you can embark upon a journey to wellness. And over time, things will get better, things will improve. And, it's not always the instant miracle. Sometimes it's that journey, and we can't be afraid to take that journey.
No, thanks for adding that so much, Essence. That great points there. There was also a part that all of you spoke to is just about either someone encouraging or someone strengthening or the woman being a strong woman even though she was weak. Like, who was a strong woman in your life, right, that impacted you in your life, right, to encourage you to be the woman that you are, and the importance of somebody being in your life, speaking into your life. Kathy?
Well, without a doubt, it was my mother. Um, my mother was the strong person in my life to encourage me. I spoke earlier about her yoking me up to get me straight on some things. Not just one time either, I have to add. She didn't just do that one time to me. It took several times getting my attention and instilling in me that I have to do. I have to look within myself to go where I want to go. So I'm going to say it was my mother. My mother showed me my mother had a superpower in that she was creative. She was a seamstress, and she made wedding dresses for people. She taught school. Now, my mother didn't have a college education. I don't even know if she finished 8th, 9th grade. I don't remember I don't think she did, but her power was she was creative, and she worked on she was a seamstress. And so she brought because she was a seamstress, she had that she made drapes, she made slip covers for furniture. She was just awesome. Now, I didn't have that same superpower because she didn't pass that one on to me. But because of that creativity, her colors were always bright to me. And when I say her colors, her aura about her, she always worked with colors, and she, the reds, the greens, all those different colors, that was part of the showing your colors. And I can relate to her superpowers to the meaning for me about the movie and the colors. So for me, it was my mother.
Renee?
I don't have just one person, but when I think back, like, to different pivotal moments in my life, and yes, I'm having trouble speaking today. To different pivotal moments in my life, I remember coming across people who encouraged me, who gave me encouragement, who said, whatever it was I was thinking about or interested in, they would say, yeah, you can go to college. You should apply. I'll even read your essay. Yeah, you should apply for that promotion. You can do it. So for me, it was just, being open and sharing what was on my mind, and being fortunate to, at those moments in life, be around somebody who gave me encouragement, who said I could do it, gave me that extra push to believe in myself.
Absolutely. We definitely need that push, or as Kathy said, or to be choked. One of the two. Right. Since you want to add to that as well.
So I would say, kind of similar to Kathy, my mom certainly has been instrumental in my life. And, I think about things similar to what Renee said about, when it came to college. My mother and I never had a conversation about whether or not I was going to college, because when she was taking classes, I was in class too. So I remember learning like human resources stuff, and she's got a contractor's license, and I was right there with a switch wiring it up, as a young kid, because, childcare obviously was, it's always a concern for any mother, but I was right there with her. So the conversation was, which school are you going to, not whether or not you're going to college. So just so many moments, critical moments, and things that I can remember that she said to me, that she did, just kind of always being there and still being there, and the decisions and choices and sacrifice that she's made, so that I can be successful. I would also say my grandmother, just, having her and having, my mom just be consistent, powerful, positive forces, has been amazing. And then I'll also add that, I remember in school having my first, Black female teacher. And many of you probably know Jackie Johnson. And so just having her come into the class every day and be so nice and so kind, and just, she was that person that would snatch you up, even though she wasn't your family member. And she would get real close to you as a little kid. I think, what grade was this? This would have been, I think, 3rd grade. And she would get in your face, and she's like, now, why did you do that? And it was just, she's just one of those people, and to this day is one of those people, right? I did a volunteer project in her classroom when she was teaching 1st grade, and I was in high school, but she welcomed me to come back, at that time to do that, and even seeing her out in the community, just her demeanor and the way that she interacts with me and with other people. There are just some people that are special people, and I think we need to. Glenn and I talk about this all the time. Give them their flowers now. Be willing to speak their names and to appreciate them. And there's so many others, that I could mention, but those are three that come to mind. And even now, just thinking about those people and who they are, it brings a smile to your face, a little bit of a tear, but I'm not a crier, so we're gonna just hold that back right now. But yeah, there's just a lot of special people, and I hope that at some point in my life, there's someone else that is able to like think back and recognize me as one of those people for them.
And I believe that God puts people in your path because
Oh no.
he knows what you need at that time. And I don't believe in happenstance, things just, I believe that God puts people in your path, whether it's good,
Mm-hmm.
where they're nurturing you, or if it's not so great, it's to teach you something. I mean, it's every lesson is either you're going to learn something from it. So I don't think of things like, Jackie Johnson was put in your path, essence, for a reason. And to this day, you still remember that. So I don't think things happen because of happenstance or luck. I don't even believe in luck. I believe that God puts people in your path for a reason and for a greater purpose.
You're absolutely right, Kathy. Because I can think of one particular thing. And I mean, you didn't quite choke me up, but I remember one time I was having an issue, and Kathy probably don't even remember this, or she does, but I had some people in the community that was trying to attack my name, and Kathy just looked right at me. She was like, "Don't you be worried about what people saying if you're doing stuff right." She was like, don't spend your time thinking about it. As long as you're doing stuff right, don't spend your time thinking about it. Just stop, And she, just told me basically like, shut up, stop complaining, just do what you're doing, do it for the right reasons, right? And so you absolutely do need that, in the community, right, all the time. So absolutely. So while we're talking about this made me start thinking about legacy, right, and the movie, because Ruth. The family had generations and it was documented, right? And then remember they said it wasn't shared, right? So let's talk about the importance of like the legacy you want to leave, and then also the importance of actually sharing information from like who you are on to the next generation, and that importance as well. Renee, you want to start us off there?
I would just say, one thing that I love to do is work with the youth, work with young people. In addition to my own kids, I have so many adopted kids that I love and take care of and care for. But I just love working with youth, and I think it's so important to pass on what you know and what you've experienced and what you've learned to that next generation. Just thinking about that old saying, if you knew what you knew now back then, what would you have done with it? And I think that young people just need to know that they can be great, and that someone is rooting for them, that they have a fan, and that they can do anything. And so I guess tying that to legacy, I just hope that that I can continue to share as much as possible with this next generation, and make them feel important, make them feel special, and just I hope that everybody that I touch remembers how I treated them and remembers that feeling.
Yeah, no, thanks so much, Renee. I can even just think about and I know what she's saying because I see it in real life. As far as like the work that she does every day, or the young people that she's always bringing around the organizations that is volunteering. And you could just see who she is in the kids, and their belief in themselves, their confidence, and it's even created a program around building more youth development. And every year now that we've seen these kids, and as they grow, I mean, it's just been powerful, to see that, you're definitely living that legacy through, every day, right, in the work that you do. Essence, what do you have to say about legacy and documenting? Because I even thought about something when we were talking about that, even though this has nothing to do with superpowers, but how you said your grandmother was the first one to create the that popcorn bag.
So that was my mom.
That was your mom. Okay, all right.
So she would tell us about. Oh, you need to mute. She told me about how at work they would put popcorn in a paper bag and put a little bit of butter and salt in there, and it was like the first microwave popcorn before you could buy it in the store. And so I just thought that was funny. And I remember being younger, especially when I first became an engineer. She's like, okay, so what are you going to invent that's going to make us rich? And I don't know that I've invented anything that would make us rich, but it was just a reminder to me to be creative and to use my skills, knowledge, ability, superpowers, whatever you want to call it, to do some good in the world. And Glenn and I talked about this morning. I don't know what we were talking about, but I feel like it was sort of random that I just said, if we choose not to do anything else, we've done a lot of good in the world. And, that was a good feeling. When I drive around the city of Flint and I see the developments that we have that we have been able to complete, the buildings aren't going anywhere for a very, very long time. And so, that's part of the legacy, even though our name is not stamped on it, for our family, for our daughter, for people to know that that's something that we had a part in, and not just the buildings, right? Because there's people living in the buildings, and how have we been able to help them, to change their lives, to support them as they go through this very same journey that we're all on, to having the life that they want to have. I think the documenting part is always difficult. Again, I think this is particularly a challenge in African American families. Do you really know, if you go back more than 2 or 3 generations, do you know who those people were? Sometimes those records aren't available, and sometimes it's a matter of what Kathy and Renee said earlier about the secrets. And, there might be some things that you would discover if you dug into the family tree that maybe the family doesn't want to talk about or relive. But so much of our history gets lost because it's not documented. And some of the things that I cherish most are, photos and, notes and things like that. And we just need to do more of that and leave more of ourselves. And I'll just say one more thing. I don't want to go too long, but I've talked to other people about different things that they have, family mementos and things like that. And I talked to somebody and they have letters from their great grandfather from the Civil War, when they were writing to the family back home. Most African American families don't have that level of legacy, but there are probably things that we could do today to leave for our children and our grandchildren and others, whether it's journals or notes or but just teaching them to hold on to those things, because I'm telling you, they will be cherished mementos for future generations. So also a reminder to me to finish the 2-year-old baby book.
And Kathy, you spoke to this earlier as well. When you're a mother, and now you're a grandmother, right? And so when you think about legacy and you think about the film and documenting, like, what are you doing, and what and the importance of the legacy that you leave?
Well, I have 5 grandchildren. One is a young lady, a woman, a girl, a female. The rest are boys. But I try to leave the same legacy with them as I will with her. But I don't know, it's something in me that makes her a little special to me. Being a Black woman now. She's 2 months old now. And now I just, something special about the fact that here's another woman that has my DNA in her. and that means something to me. But the song, and maybe you all don't know this song, I'm a little older than you guys, but that song about if I can help someone along the way, then my living will not be in vain. And that song just touches me in a special way. Uh, and I try to make sure that my living's not in vain by helping people along the way. And now I find myself wanting to share more and more with my daughter and my sons about me and as I was growing up and family members. I'm trying not to carry those secrets on to future generations, and so I guess that's what I'm trying to leave is that legacy of service, that legacy of helping people along the way, and that legacy of sharing with your children, with my children, things that I think they need to know so that they don't have to wonder and guess. Because here's the point that you may not know about me is that I'm adopted. I was adopted as a baby. And so I don't have that legacy of birth parents along the way. I only have the parents who raised me, and as far as I'm concerned, those are my parents. And so I'm trying to make sure that my kids who know who their birth parents are have that same assurance and knowledge about me and their and the family, so that I can help them going further for their future.
Wow. Nope, Kathy, I did not know that at all. And even when you said it, and when you said you were, not holding any secrets, because if you wanted, you could have just not. That could have just not even be a topic of conversation, right? But thank you so much for sharing that with us. Is something that's so close to you, because like I've known you for years and I never known that. It's the first time I heard that. So thank you so much for sharing that. And so as we wrap up, because I mean this has been a great discussion, and at first I think Kathy mentioned, she said it's going to be a whole lot of talking. And look at Kathy, we're we've been past the hour mark now, so we we got through it. And but what I want to do is either give you a final thought, and then also why should people watch this film, right? One question. And then your second question that you're going to ask is, well, not second question, but then you're also going to give us your final thoughts about, just today and the conversation, the film, or anything else that you want to just share or leave us with. So I'll start with Kathy there.
What's up? Well, thank you so much for that, Glenn. I think that I think people should watch the movie and look at it personally. Take the movie personally, how they can personalize what's in the movie and how it impacts them, their family, their loved ones, and see what they take away from that. Maybe they make changes, or maybe they become, maybe share more information. Maybe the family becomes closer. I don't know, but take it and personalize it, I think, for me. And I'll just leave with the fact that power can be used for good and for evil. And power can be creative. And look for the power within you, as I'll go back to the well, and look for that well in you and use it for good.
Thank you so much. Renee?
Just building off of what Kathy said, the movie was powerful, and I would encourage people to watch it for the same reasons mentioned, and just something to keep in mind. Don't let your past define your future, and remember that if something is broken, it doesn't have to stay broken.
Awesome. Essence?
I think everybody should see the film. It was a lot different than what I was expecting, and there were so many different layers. I've seen it twice, and each time got a different perspective, something different to think about. But by the same token, it's entertaining, right? So it's an interesting film, and there's a lot to be gained from watching it. It's not just for women. We focus kind of on women in our conversation, but anybody can benefit from seeing it. So don't feel like if you're a man or if you're not, African American, that you shouldn't see it. I think anybody and everybody would benefit from watching it. And then in terms of just final thoughts, I would say I found the family dynamic just to be really interesting. And there were moments where, as an audience or someone viewing the film, I thought that there should be like this anger and resentment when either a secret was revealed, or they kind of they had these moments where clash should have occurred. And it was really refreshing to see a more realistic response of, okay, wow, wasn't expecting that, taking a step back. And there also wasn't the forcefulness of acceptance. It was just very, there were a couple of moments where they weren't exactly sure how the other person might respond to an attempt towards reconciliation, but they just took it in the moment for what it was and didn't try to force it. And so they weren't like, oh, I'm back, hug me, hi, how are you? And it was just, okay, so all right, nice to see you, and let's see where this goes. And I thought that was really helpful, because sometimes we think that when we apologize or we're seeking reconciliation, that it's going to be instant forgiveness. And sometimes you just have to walk a path in relationships to get to that point. It was a phenomenal film. Taking at surface value, it was entertaining. Looking a little bit deeper, doing some soul searching, you'll get a lot out of it. And I would highly encourage anybody and everybody to see it.
Thank you so much, Essence, for that. And then I would just say, I appreciate each and every one of you today, that joined us on this panel discussion, sharing things, personal things that touch you, things that other people can do. And I know, like you say, this movie can go across, men or women, but it really made me think about like men, like what can we do, right? It's like we're talking about Black girl magic, right? And so, as men, we have to do our part to make sure that we are uplifting, that we're protecting, and that we are lifting up the woman to make sure that they are not experiencing barriers because of us as men, right? And so whatever that we can do as men, let me just encourage us all, right, to be a support, to not try to hinder a woman's superpower. That just because they're strong does not mean we're weak. And also, and if you're so blessed to be around other strong women, it should just show how strong of a man you are. If you find yourself around a whole bunch of strong women, because they're usually, depending on who they are, if they're real genuine strong women, they're not going to want to be around weak men. But so continue, men, to be encouraging, to remove barriers for women, to uplift them, do what we need to do to make sure that their superpowers are not being harnessed. So let's encourage and let's open up any doors that we can. Like I say, if you're not a bridge, you're a fire, right? And or a barrier. And so what we want to do is build bridges and to remove these hierarchical things within the relationships, and to understand that we all have a journey that we have to take, right? And where I'm strong is or where I'm weak is where a woman could be strong to help you to carry. So we all need each other to get there. And so thank you so much, like I say, for joining us. Understand that you still can watch this film through tomorrow evening. So please, sign up for the film series. You see the link at the bottom of the screen. You can still watch it, like I say, through Sunday of this week. So please sign up. Also, we have the next film coming up, which is The Banker, which is March 18th through the 21st. And it's also available at that same link. And that is the final film of our film series. And you don't want to miss it. If you're looking for any of our stuff, social media platforms, any of our events. You can go to our Facebook page, LinkedIn, Instagram, and follow us. Please share our information, get it out there to the community as much as possible. We would greatly appreciate that. I also want to just make sure I thank our sponsors one more time, which is Mott Community College, the Community Foundation of Greater Flint Truth, Race, Healing, and Transformational Initiative, Michigan Council for Arts and Cultural Affairs, and NBC 25, and a whole host of other sponsors. Thank you so much for everyone joining us today. Just understand, communities first. We are here to empower people and build communities. See you next time.